Sequels and reboots. Do we need them? Arguably no, but I thought I'd do a follow-up on my last hobby tips video. And like a sequel and reboot, it's coming, whether you needed it or not. Welcome back to the State of Play. From the way we paint to the way we hobby to the way we spray, we don't change much. After all, thousands of people can't be wrong, can they? This is the way it's been done for years, so it must be the best way. Lots of people must have tried other ways and dismissed them for being inferior. Except no, we do it that way because the person before us did it that way, and the person before them, and somewhere along the way, we stopped challenging things and just continued. So let's have a look at a few things that might change your mind, change the way you do things. Pick and choose the ones you think will help. 2 pots of water. Yes, 2. One to wash your brushes, and the other with 4 or 5 big drops of matte medium and 1 or 2 drops of flow improver mixed in. What this does is effectively turns the second water into a huge pot of lamium medium. Thinning your paints with this new mixture I found is better than just water, because depending on where you live, your tap water can have all manner of things in it that affects paint dilution. Where I live, the water's got so much lime scale in it that every wash and glaze leaves tide marks. I thought it was me at first, just doing it wrong, until I changed the water mixture. In fact, you can make your own lamium medium like this. All that is distilled water in a dropper bottle, a few drops of matte medium, and you shake it up. And speaking of cheap liquids, I ended up with a load of this stuff. I'm sure we all did at one point. Great for sanitizing your hands, but it's also really effective at cleaning brushes. The alcohol content in these is almost identical to most brush cleaners. Quite often this stuff is cheaper than dedicated brush cleaner, and often leaves your brushes smelling a lot nicer than you do in the morning after a heavy night out. I'd recommend the more liquid varieties rather than the gel ones, but really they both work exactly the same. Swirl your brush around in it and rinse it off. Repeat as needed. And we all use this stuff on bases to get sand and little rocks to stay in place and go rock hard. The general method to do this is to flood the surface with a 50-50 water and isopropyl alcohol mix, and then a 25% PVA and 75% water mix on top. The alcohol lets the PVA mix flow into the recesses due to the surface tension being reduced. Science. Surely there's something out there that will just make the PVA and water mixture just flow better, so I can skip the alcohol step and it'll dry quicker. Just add a bunch of this into your mixture and then totally skip the isopropyl step. It soaks straight in, and most of the time it dries in 30 minutes, even quicker with a hairdryer. Oil paints. I wanted to try oil paints, mostly for washes after watching Marco Fasoni, but also to put highlights on different coloured acrylics and then just smoosh them to blend them. I picked up this Winsor & Newton Artists oil set on Amazon in a lightning sale and really liked how they worked, following Marco's fantastic instructions. But when I went looking to expand my collection of artist grade oils, it appears that Winsor & Newton only do small 22ml tubes in this starter set. This box is the timeshare salesperson to get you to buy into the rest of the product line. Almost every other colour comes in 37ml and larger, and with that comes a massive price jump between £9 and £12 depending on where you shop. Oil paint prices are based on the pigment used, so unlike the acrylics we're used to, few colours are priced the same and super stupidly expensive. I mean seriously, Old Holland Cerulean Blue. What? Anything with cadmium in it can reach the price of a miniature. The 22ml was great because it stretches so far. I've barely used a teaspoon on washes over 3 years. So what else is there? Cheap oil paints can have inferior pigments and a wash can become gritty really quickly like pigment soup. But to get a load of colours, it'll cost a fortune. After an extensive search, I found these on Jackson Art in the UK. Shinhan Professional Artist Oils from South Korea. It's 32 colours in this set at 20ml for around £125, making each one around £3.90 each. This effectively makes this set the cheapest for the most amount of professional artist grade oils that I could find available. And yes, I was sceptical. Like you, I'm always wary of brands I've never heard of, but with these, I was really surprised. And now I have a full set of oil colours that I can use when I want. The one thing we don't lack in this hobby is brushes. Winsor & Newton Series 7, Raphael 8404, Citadel, Artist Opus, there's loads of choice. Big belly brushes that hold a lot of paint, with a fine tip to get those tiny details, which is what we learned. Sometimes they stay super pointy, sometimes they don't. Occasionally you want a really thin line or to get wash into a small crack or panel line, and some of these brushes just don't work well for that. I went looking for another option. In the art world, they have what's called a rigger, which is a long, thin brush tip created for the painting of rigging on sailing ships. But for miniature painting, the hairs are just too long to have any decent control. I'm sure, like me, you tried Series 7 miniature in the tiny sizes like 5.0 or Army Painter's Psycho brush. But they don't hold enough paint, and unless you're painting in a steam room, it dries almost immediately. Mixing in some retarder or medium helps, but still, I wanted a catch-all solution. Eyes, panel lines, fine details, especially for painting all the teeny tiny eye detail on my Delac gang. Warlord Games have a set of brushes that are 7mm and 9mm in length that are perfect for those times you want a very thin pointy brush with enough length to hold paint so it doesn't dry as quick. Now, it still dries, and you still need to thin your paint to the correct consistency, but you get a little more time to do what you want and what you need. And the permanent point really helps in getting tiny little details. I mentioned this in a previous video when I made modular toxic sump for my Zone Mortalis table, but I reiterate that this is a tool we don't use often enough in this hobby. It probably sits in your hobby room gathering dust. We've all gotten so plastic and 3D printed stuff focused that we forgot that a lot of early terrain for games was made from card or paper. You can do great things with card. This entire table for Zombicide is Battle Systems card terrain with a load of card additions that I added. And this MDF gas station has all the signs and text printed out and stuck on. The main sign is just card and a printed design stuck on a base. We craft with card, foam, plastic, junk, and then use up a whole load of paint on it. They look great, but when playing a game, will anyone really notice that your ground or wall was painted, wallpapered on, or 2D printed? This sump was made on my 2D printer, so was this fight cage, these signs, these hazard stripes, these zombie game room floors, and this graffiti was printed on inkjet water slide transfer paper. So if you're terrible at freehand painting on a model, make the outlines with this, transfer it on, seal it with varnish, and then paint over the top of it. You've got all the lines on the model to guide you when you paint. Tamiya Weathering Master. This has a totally weird name for what effectively looks like eye makeup. I mean, I can't even guarantee it's not eye makeup in a different package. I'm sure by now we've all used cheap makeup brushes for dry brushing, a hairdryer on paint, or nail files for sanding. In fact, we've probably loitered in the makeup section of a store or on Amazon for far longer than we're comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, until Amazon gets wind of it and starts recommending other products to you. No thanks, Amazon. I don't need fake eyelashes, thanks. And now there's this. This stuff makes certain effects super simple. Dirt, streaks, oil stains, rust, soot, smoke, snow, metallic highlights. I haven't tried it, but I imagine with a really small brush, you could even achieve super realistic looking stubble, or use a makeup sponge or dry brush to dirty the edges of cloaks. Effects that would take ages with multiple thin glazes done in seconds. Then seal it with varnish, or not. Totally up to you. Water wipes or baby wipes. I'm not a huge fan of cleaning up after this hobby, but it needs to be done or we'd all be sitting in puddles of spilt paint and covered in pieces of old sprue. I sometimes see people's cutting mats covered in paint and glue and think, why? Good cutting mats are not cheap. Why does yours look like a crime scene? Get some isopropyl alcohol and a few packs of wipes. Put a few drops on the already wet wipe and it dilutes it to a safe and less flammable cleaning consistency. Great for wiping up acrylic paint and drips. Fantastic for cleaning an airbrush, brilliant for cleaning a glass dry palette, and a lot safer than pure isopropyl alcohol on dry paper towels. Basically a much cheaper version of the Iwata Studio wipes, and I can use this with isopropyl for cleaning up acrylic from anywhere. Skin, surfaces, airbrush, carpet. You can even just pour the isopropyl into the pack itself and reseal it. Well, if you don't plan on using these very quickly, they can dry out. I don't expect everyone watching to use all of these tips. Some might work for you and some might not. In fact, I'm pretty sure you've probably developed a whole raft of things to streamline your own hobby life. Feel free to add a load into the comments. I'm always up for stealing a new and more efficient way of doing things. Learning, I meant learning. As I always say. What do I always say? Thanks for watching.